Hello, and thank you for visiting my website for the book Patrol by Walter Dean Myers. Today, the focus is on theme, and I'm going to share with you a theme analysis of the book Patrol. So, first of all, we'll start out with the read aloud and then move on to how to write a theme analysis essay. Walter Dean Myers reveals some crucial big ideas throughout the book Patrol. The tension that the reader experiences through the eyes of the protagonist are at the heart of this story. Our character is pulled between duty and his moral compass throughout the book. By reading the story Patrol, we learn that when one is faced with violent duty, while one is compassionate and empathetic, one may avoid becoming the enemy. One of the first instances where the main character's violent duty is demonstrated occurs as the squad is walking in the forest. After shots ring out and a firefight has begun, he lifts his rifle and fires into the green forest. I empty my clip, sending more bullets into the trees. Here, the protagonist is fulfilling his violent duty by responding to danger with violence. This shows that, as a soldier, he must use his weapons and aggression to survive as a member of a squad, at least whenever threatened. Later, after the squad has met and hit their target, the protagonist considers the enemy, which he does repeatedly and in many ways, stating that they have wooden bowls that hold a day's rice and grandmothers who stand sullen at their huts. This quote shows just how deeply he is thinking about the enemy. The fact that he's considering the enemy's meals, or lack thereof, and the enemy's families shows that he understands the difficulty of their lives. This demonstrates a strong sense of compassion and empathy, which are excellent traits to have, but can be compromising in the face of war and violence. Lastly, when the protagonist finds himself looking into the eyes of the enemy, he has a decision to make. Although he wishes that the enemy would lift his rifle or turn away, he is stuck as to what to do. His situation, violent war, and traits, passion and empathy, are playing tug of war on him. Finally, the sound of the chopper interrupts the moment, sending the enemy running away. It is at this moment that the protagonist lifts his rifle, aims at the distant shadow. He then comes to the realization that I am the enemy. I lower my rifle. This critical moment shows the protagonist and the reader that in war, everyone can be someone's enemy. By lowering his rifle and not taking the easy kill, he avoids becoming the enemy. It is through the tension between historical expectation and inner moral compass that the protagonist eventually comes to this point and avoids becoming the enemy. Myers' historical fiction book Patrol illustrates quite clearly the difficulties of balancing and finding one's true self amidst the expectation of a violent and uncertain war. All right, so I want to talk about how I came up with this analysis and how you can come up with one too. So if we go to our Google Classroom, once again, we're going to see the resources. On this resources page, you're going to see something called theme statement help. This is a great place to start if you are trying to write a theme statement. So we come up with big ideas, and we've gone over several big ideas in class before, such as persistence, equality, family, compassion, equality, responsibility, overcoming obstacles, respect, change, conflict, selfishness, sacrifice, understanding, diversity, change, grief, loyalty, friendship, love, generosity, hope, many, many, many big ideas. So you start figuring out what are some of the big ideas and how they're demonstrated in your book. Once you figure out what the big ideas are from your book and you've thought about it, then you can quickly write a theme statement by just using these three questions. What is the conflict or challenge? That is, what is the character faced with? What traits or qualities does the character have to overcome or resolve the challenge? Or what does the character realize? And then what happens? How does the conflict resolve? When you answer these questions, you want to avoid using he, she, or any character names, anything too specific, and use one instead. That way it becomes a general statement or like a moral to the story. Here's an example from Tuck Everlasting. When one must make a critical choice, so choice being the big idea, but one realizes who to love and trust are the big ideas, one may make a difference in the world. So the difference here is the big idea, and that's the answer to all three questions. When one finds oneself in a hopeless situation but uses wisdom and resources, one will prevail or succeed. Oftentimes we want to use may instead of will, but if it is a certainty, you can go that way. So let's get back to the essay. Like all the other analysis essays, this one will be a 3-paragraph essay. You're going to start out with an introductory paragraph that introduces the argument or the concept that you're working towards and ends with what is like a thesis statement. In this case, your thesis statement is a theme statement. So here's our answer to those 3 questions. By reading the book, The Story Patrol, we learn that when one is faced with violent duty, so that's part of his conflict, but one is compassionate and empathetic, those are the traits he has, one may avoid becoming the enemy. And that's the resolution. In the end, he avoids becoming the enemy, at least in the situation that we reveal. The next step is the body paragraph. In that body paragraph, we want to use quotes from the text to prove every word of our theme statement. So I need to prove that he is faced with violent duty, that he is compassionate and empathetic, and that he avoids becoming the enemy. So the quotes that I chose, him emptying his clip, sending more bullets, is a good example of him fulfilling his violent duty. Moving forward in it, when he considers and thinks about the enemies in the terms of what are they eating, who their families are, he's considering like what difficulties they're facing, what their lives are like. This definitely shows empathy and compassion. Lastly, in that climactic scene where he has a chance to shoot the enemy and realizes he is the enemy, but he lowers his rifle, he avoids becoming the enemy, which kind of fulfills the theme of this story. The last part of the essay then is this concluding paragraph. And in that concluding paragraph, we're just kind of wrapping it up, reiterating what we've talked about, and kind of leaving us with a new depth of the comprehension and knowledge of the story Patrol. Thank you for listening today.